Last time on Dragon Age the Veilguard, we were talking about how the director Corinne Busche was living out the meme of the dude walking away from whatever explosion they have in the background. Yeah, just leaving for, greener pastures, better opportunities that are out there, after the overwhelming success of Dragon Age the Veilguard just found a way to parlay to ruin another franchise. But apparently, Corinne will not be alone on the departure from BioWare Edmonton, as they are going to be officially shedding some staff. So Dragon Age the Veilguard's executive producer reports EA is cutting BioWare staff, and yep, it's over, man. It's an end of an era, and at one point in time, this would have been sad, but you got a picture of Mass Effect Andromeda, and after that game dropped, I mean, if they would have just shut everything down right now, they would have saved millions and millions of dollars. But Dragon Age the Veilguard executive producer Mark Dara, reported in a recent video that EA has begun cutting BioWare staff and relocating them to other studios within the company. As part of the video, Dara said BioWare's upcoming Mass Effect game, and said Mass Effect isn't ready to suddenly have a team of 250, 300 people working on it. Yeah, no, I know, like we had at one point in time much larger staff than that, but hey man, we can't focus that many people on the project because, well, they're all getting fired and we're getting ready for a fire sale in general, and perhaps EA won't be the one publishing Mass Effect 5. Who knows? And maybe we'll have a Duke Nukem Forever type situation going on here. In the past, when BioWare was toying with just being one project, like on Anthem, thanks pop-ups, like on the Veilguard, the project was up and running at full speed, so it was just able to suck in every available resource. Right, because when you're BioWare focusing on one major title, you wouldn't want to consolidate all of your resources on something like, I don't know, Mass Effect? Like, come on, man. It had enough existing infrastructure to be able to absorb everything. So you're talking about Dragon Age having enough existing infrastructure. A game that went through a very notable shift from being the Dreadwolf to being the Veilguard, and everything essentially being uprooted and twisted back around when Corinne Busche went through a very interesting time in 2020. Alright then, enough existing infrastructure, Dara continued. So that's not exactly what's happening. You see this when you go on people's social media profiles, people who worked on Dragon Age the Veilguard. Some of them are moving over to Mass Effect. Yeah, like the writing team. How fantastic. You still excited for Mass Effect 5? You shouldn't be. No, but some of them are moving on to other parts of EA organizations because Mass Effect isn't ready for them. Right. So, okay, even if we didn't see the writing on the wall and we didn't have, a significant part of this video to go, so we kind of know where things are going in regards to BioWare, you could just simply take that as also Mass Effect 5 is like years away at this point in time, okay? Like, we don't need people who are, working actively on a project. We'll get to them when we get to them, so that's not great. Anyways, in the past, the plan, this many irons in the fire strategy, was to make sure that there was always something for people to do. There was always work to be done. Yeah, this game, theoretically, like, if it was, okay, if this was a functional studio that isn't on the brink of collapse, because, I mean, like, we got the reports now. We're finally starting to get some hard information, which eventually was going to have to come out, because here's the thing, man. EA, god damn it, man. I can't believe we're at a point in time. If you would have told me 10 years ago we would have had Ubisoft and EA at the point of collapse, at their most vulnerable ever, and Activision, if they hadn't been bought out by Microsoft, would also be staring down the barrel of this gun, that would have been insane. At the height of EA, you're talking about, outside of the big three putting on their conferences, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, who are the other ones who constantly had a stage presence? Okay, Bethesda, bought out by Microsoft, but you had EA and you had Ubisoft up there, and now both of them are in significant trouble, because for as much as Electronic Arts could have stomached a bomb with Dragon Age the Veilguard, them losing, okay, them admitting that EA Sports FC25 at one point in time, their FIFA title, and all my old school EFAP fans, okay, going back for a minute, their sports games carry a lion's share of the business model. I forget what it was. What was it? The sales report from 2018 when FIFA's Ultimate Team accounted for $1.4 billion billion in revenue. If you know, you know. And if you don't worry about it. Just know that there's a significant amount of money for EA that's right there. That's why you haven't really heard much of them in regards to non-sports related games. Like, there was a point in time when EA was seen, as the evil empire of gaming, when they were propping up all of the worst decisions. You remember they were the ones putting out the online passes. They were the ones who were at the forefront of pushing seasons of content, loot boxes, and microtransactions. It was their Battlefield game that really ended up causing a bugaboo. The list goes on and on. But it's been, honestly, it's been a minute since I've heard from, EA in any significance sense outside of them dealing with BioWare, and they could just kind of operate in the background because, they have Madden, they had FIFA, well now FC 25. That is basically their business. It's kind of like how Activision is just basically Call of Duty, and that's about it. But if they're coming out and saying that, that's also underperforming and it revises its financial outlook downward, Veilguard missed sales projections by nearly 50%. I know that's going to be a line share of this story, and that's going to be why BioWare is basically closing down. It's over, bros. Okay, Jason Schreier, you're just gonna have to go ahead and take it in the pooper like you were always going to begin with. But remember when remember when the Veilguard dropped and it was go broke the top of the charts. Oh, remember guys, it was dominating the Steam charts on its day of release, and then over that weekend, and then it failed spectacularly. And now he just decided to put his posts on protected because he doesn't want to face the backlash of the fact of the game that he's so strongly backed is a massive failure. But of course, the bigger story underlining all of this is the underperformance of, the FIFA clone. They ended up losing the license or something like that, or they couldn't use I forget the entire story behind that, but everybody knows that's the soccer game, that's the football game. EA has revised its projected revenues for 2025 fiscal year sharply downward in a preliminary financial results release from 7.4 to 7.7 billion to 7 to 7.1 billion, as both EA Sports FC and Dragon Age: The Veilguard failed to meet expectations. Bro, just about shedding $1.0 billion in revenue for the year. Oh, that's not insignificant. EA said, after the 2 years of double-digit net bookings growth, its a global football franchise experienced a slowdown. And that right there, that's far more consequential for them in the current fiscal year. While a Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which is definitely the bridesmaid. Once again, depending on how they identify on the day, it depends on if they're on the groom side or the bride side, engaged approximately 1.5 million players during the quarter. What does that mean? Engaged 1.5 million players during the quarter. Is that sales? Is that people who took you up on your offer of just playing around with the character creator because that was so cutting edge and innovative? I mean, wrestling games character creation, sports games character creations were far more in-depth than that. I don't know why they were touting that as just such a revolutionary technology, but anyways, down nearly 50% from the company's expectations. So they didn't even have big expectations, because the Dragon Age games, while they pale in comparison to popularity to Mass Effect, they still sell in the millions of units, but they only thought that they could get 3. They were hoping for 3 million sales. That's crazy, and they still missed that bigly, hugely. During quarter 3, we continue to deliver high-quality games. And experiences across our portfolio. Electronic Arts' CEO Andrew Wilson, who's been tapped to replace Bob Iger. Good luck trying to, sit on that throne after shit like this, bro. Well, I guess you'd fit right in if they want to just go ahead and get somebody Bob Iger-like. However, Dragon Age and EA Sports FC underperformed our net bookings expectations. It really does suck to suck, huh? What ends up happening as a consequence of that? A track record we've seen time and time again. Again, I brought up the Ubisoft comparison while thinking that, God damn it, man. You can only stack up so many L's before this eventually happens, because we've seen, after Star Wars Outlaws came out and absolutely bombed, what happened? The stock tumbled. Now, Dragon Age: The Veilguard comes out. It fails spectacularly. It obviously is only a contributing factor. FC 25 being an utter disappointment. That's going to be the bigger driver right there. But EA faces market meltdown as stocks plunge 20%. That's big. But unlike Ubisoft, we're not dealing with, double-digit stock. we're dealing with some pretty big numbers here, meaning that, EA's not on the verge of getting bought out by any Chinese conglomerate. Don't try to spin it like that, but there was a point in time when Ubisoft had like a $95 share price. Yeah, keep that in mind moving forward. EA is facing a financial crisis of epic proportions, with EA stock dropping nearly 20% after the company openly admitted that Dragon Age Veilguard and EA Sports FC failed epically. Fallout from these high-profile disasters has sent shockwaves through the gaming industry, with investors reacting swiftly and decisively to the company's lowered revenue forecast for the fiscal year. The sharp decline began earlier this week, with EA stocks plunging on January 22nd from $142.35 a share to $125.90 in a single day, and finally landing at 118.58 after hitting its low of 116.29 to start the day yesterday. That's that doesn't look very good, at least on the 5-day. Now, obviously, we're not dealing with something that has lost 85% of its value. 20%, they can go ahead and turn around from that. And this is why EA is going to have a much better chance of turning things around. Like, Ubisoft has already cashed their check. They're on the way out. We're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed in their interesting presentation. We'll be doing that tomorrow. There's so much for how boring and bad Hollywood has been on the movies and television front for January. The gaming stuff has been absolutely wild, and political commentary. Unfortunately, there's just not enough slots in the day. Hopefully, we'll get around to what Trump is doing. At the beginning of next week. Okay, maybe just wrapping everything in a nice little bow for his first week in office, because that has also been crazy. But gaming specifically has been wild, and potentially we're also seeing, just as quickly as we're seeing in the political realm, things turning just like that. We could also see that at EA, because here's the thing, for as much of an evil empire as they were in the late 2000s, early 2010s, by pushing all of the worst policies you could possibly think of, they'll cut a bitch in a minute. You remember, they were the guys who were just, your game didn't perform? Oopsie daisy. You're gone. It's like, I forget, what was the studio behind Dead Space, Visceral? Was it Visceral Entertainment? I think it was Visceral, They put out, 1 was a surprise hit, 2, built on that momentum, and then EA decided, hey, we have an opportunity to force, microtransactions in there, and we can lighten the tone and make it a buddy shooter, and, what happened? That ended up tanking the project? Okay, cool. We're just going to go ahead and disband the studio that was forced to do stuff at our really stupid decision. Oopsie daisy. But EA has been doing that for a long time, cutting studios that underperform, and then eventually turning things around in relatively short order. They'll try something, They'll try to fit that square peg into a round hole by using a hydraulic press for a few years. But at this point in time, if their bread and butter is failing, they're going to be making some shifts in a relatively short amount of time, and by weeding out any other superfluous elements that could somehow have a deleterious effect, you better believe that their vengeance is going to be swift, and it's going to be complete. So BioWare, your ticket has been punched. And unlike the closure of Visceral and several other EA studios of the past, this one is a failure completely of your own doing. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.